on what has been falsely misrepresented here. So we have to call that out. And so, look,
can you clarify what the misrepresentation is?
Can you get to the part about the convicted felons and criminals and murderers and rapists who have been left in the country? Can you get to that part, please? Because I think that's what the question was really all about. All right, now you saw the report. We talked about it yesterday that ICE put out while Kamala Harris was going down to the border for her 20-minute photo op in front of the wall that she hates and stopped the construction of and spoke out against her entire political career. While she was getting that photo op, ICE released a report. It was really a letter responding to a senator's request about the data related to those who have been released in America that had been encountered and apprehended trying to cross the border illegally. Over 400,000 of them are convicted criminals from their home states, with numbers including over 13,000 convicted murderers. It was a blockbuster story. And yesterday, finally, the White House had to answer questions about it, most specifically Karine Jean-Pierre. And of course, the only questions came from the only person interested in asking real questions in that room, Peter Doocy. Watch this.
15,000 people who have been convicted of murder crossed the border illegally and are living among us. So how much danger are U.S. communities in right now because of this?
I'm assuming you're talking about the ICE data?
Yes.
So just a couple of things, and I think it's important to correct the record here. First of all, the false representation of the data ICE shared. So that was what we are seeing, false representation. I got to call that out. We got to call that out. And it's been fact checked by some of your colleagues here, by multiple outlets that has been debunked on what has been falsely misrepresented here. So we have to call that out. And so, look,
can you clarify what the misrepresentation is?
The numbers that is being put out about how many.
Yeah, let me hang on. I'm gonna let you finish there, Karine Jean-Pierre, but this is an important thing. So Peter Doocy asked a good question. ICE report came out, showed the data, hundreds of thousands of convicted criminals here in America that were let free to roam our streets, including over 10,000 murderers, about 10,000 rapists. Are American streets safe? And for the first minute of this answer, it was like, oh, that's been fact checked. The data was misrepresented. You guys are spewing lies, blah, 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 blah. And Peter Doocy's follow-up is a very important one. Can you explain how it's been misrepresented? Please clear the record. I mean, in fact, why didn't she just do that at the beginning? Oh, thank you for the opportunity, Peter, because this information has been misreported. Here are the facts, right? But instead, we got to spend a minute slamming Fox News, slamming, right of center media, anybody who's not a corporate shill for Joe Biden and Kamala Harris and the Democrats. We got to attack them. All right, fine. So Peter Doocy follows up. Please take this opportunity, educate us, fix the problem, get the truth out. You've got this platform. Look at your podium. Look at your very smart fuchsia suit. Everyone is hanging on your every word. Please now clear the record. So here's Karine Jean-Pierre taking advantage of this opportunity. She's going to clear the record and explain how that ICE data has been misrepresented. Let's watch, shall we? In fact, if you can, take notes, because this is really compelling stuff. Here we go. I can't wait to be educated. I can't wait to hear the truth about this.
The numbers that is being put out about how many people are out has been falsely represented here. If you look at the total returns and removal of the past year, that has been higher than every year under the previous administration since 2010, if you look at it. And if we're going to report something, a data that's out there, we got to do it in a way that is not confusing the American people and certainly not lying. And so this has been fact checked. And so this is the way that is being falsely represented here is just not okay. And though, got to be really clear about that.
Wow, you were incredibly clear about that. That cleared everything up, didn't it? It's not confusing in the slightest. The issue was that there's data being released by ICE in response to a senator's request about the criminal records of those that have been released in this country after being encountered by Border Patrol agents. Over 400,000 that are in this country have criminal convictions from their home countries, including over 10,000 for murder and about 10,000 for sexual assault. Karine Jean-Pierre claims that it was all misrepresented. So let's watch it again. This is her clearing that up. And again, see, if I'm her and that data was misrepresented, I would say this. You guys said 13,000 convicted murderers here, but that's not true. Here's how many there are. You said there were 10,000 rapists here in the country that were released, but that's not true. Here's the facts. Here's the truth. Here's the data. She didn't do that when she cleared this up, when she explained what had been misrepresented. Once again, here's your White House press secretary taking advantage of the opportunity to call out the misrepresentation and give us the actual truth about this report. Okay, let's watch together so that we can actually get the truth.
And so, look,
Can you clarify what the misrepresentation is?
The numbers that is being put out about how many people are out has been falsely represented here. If you look at the total returns and removal of the past year.
Total returns and the removals of the past year.
That has been higher than every year. That
has been, I think she means have been, higher than every year.
Under the previous administration since 2010.
So the removals and returns over the past year have been higher than any administration since 2010. Okay, we're with you. Can you get to the part about the convicted felons and criminals and murderers and rapists who have been left in the country? Can you get to that part, please? Because I think that's what the question was really all about.
If you look at it. And if we're going to report something, a data that's out there, we got to do it in a way that is not confusing the American people and certainly not lying.
Well, and there's nothing confusing about that, and certainly no lies involved there. I don't know about you, but I'm not satisfied with Karine Jean-Pierre's explanation as to why this is misrepresented. So I've got an idea. Let's go to the data itself. Here's the letter. It was Congressman, I'm sorry, I said Senator. It was Congressman Tony Gonzalez who had originally asked for this information. This is, by the way, I do like the fact that it says, I apologize for the delay. I wonder how long this delay really was. This has to do with responding, and the first couple of paragraphs says, we love Congress and we love transparency and we love answering your questions via oversight. Yeah, they don't. Your letter requests the number of non-citizens on ICE's docket convicted or charged with a crime. As of July 21st, 2024, there were 662,000 non-citizens with criminal histories in ICE's national docket, including those detained by ICE and an agency's non-ticketed docket. Of those, 435,719 are convicted criminals. Now, I'm sure somewhere in there, I've just misrepresented the facts because I did something really sneaky and deceitful. I just read directly from the letter delivered by ICE. ICE, by the way, which is an agency under the control of the Biden administration. I read you exactly what the letter says. I'm sure I'm going to be accused of misrepresenting something. By the way, they also put together this very useful table. This is public information. You can get it anywhere. Check social media. National docket data for non-citizens by criminality and most serious charge category. It's in alphabetical order, so you'd be surprised. Being convicted of an antitrust violation, there's only one of them. Imagine that guy. You know, why'd you have to include in my antitrust conviction? Come on. But we got arson, we got assault, 42,000. Commercialized sexual offenses, 77 convicted criminal, 2,200. What is a commercialized sexual offense? Is that where in the middle of the sexual offense you stop for a paid endorsement or something? What is it? Did Nike sponsor it? Dangerous drugs, 56,000. Family offenses, 6,400. Oh, look, they couldn't fit them all on one page. Fraudulent activities, 15,000. General crimes, 11,000. I do like that. Doesn't fall into any of these other categories. General crimes. The poor antitrust guy over there. Couldn't you just put me in general crimes? Homicide, 13,000. Immigration offenses, only 52,000. Aren't they all guilty of immigration offenses? Oh, no. Only 52,000 have been convicted. So they've already been convicted of violating our immigration law. and then they're back again. That's good. Larceny, 18,000. I'm only going for 5 digits and above, by the way. Robbery, 10,000. Sex offenses not involving assault or commercialized sex. Oh, maybe commercialized sex is like prostitution, sex trafficking, pornography. That's 9,400. I made an exception there because it's close enough to 10,000. Sexual assault, 15,000. Traffic offenses, 77,000. That explains why it's so delightful to drive on roads in major cities right now. Weapon offenses, 13,000. Now, again, I'm sure that I am guilty of misrepresenting this data and of lying or exaggerating in some way. I know that Karine Jean-Pierre would not accept what I just gave you because I literally just read the data directly from the letter itself. And it would be a crying shame if you did the same so that you could educate yourself about what is going on under Joe Biden and Kamala Harris. I'd play the clip again of Karine Jean-Pierre clearing this up and explaining to you why this has all been misrepresented and lied about. But I don't have time for her misrepresentation and lies. But I would like to hand this over to my buddy, Greg Gutfeld, and he actually is a friend, because on the 5 on Friday, he put it all in perspective.
In the real world, she would be toast. And I don't like getting riled up for no reason because this story is so unbelievable. I wanted to see if it was reported elsewhere. You know, it couldn't find it on MSNBC, CNN, Drudge. You have the release of hundreds of thousands of foreign criminals, like they emptied the jails, raped thousands of rapists, thousands of murderers. And on the pages of all of these networks, the death of Maggie Smith, which is sad, great actress, Lana Del Rey's marriage, P. Diddy rumors, but nothing about what is easily one of the most big, probably the biggest crime story I've ever seen. So we know that Democrats watch this show. Some of them hate watching. But if you're watching this, the media doesn't want you to know this information. They don't want it to reach you. They would rather you die or be raped than Trump be right or find out the truth. So you can hate Fox all you want. You can hate Trump all you want. You can hate me. But you can't hate yourself and your family so much that you're going to ignore a story that puts them in danger. Now, even if these numbers are off.
I'm going to let him finish there, but that part about the media just literally ignoring this story, there were only a few outlets that picked it up. And of course, all of our town hall sites at Town Hall Media covered it. But that's not an accident. Okay. Now, during October of 4 years ago in 2020, when they all decided to ignore the Hunter Biden laptop story because it would have damaged Joe Biden, and post-election polls showed that a good percentage of Biden voters would have not voted for him had they known all of the contents of that laptop. They decided to ignore it, but they came up with a story. They came up with a fake narrative, a fiction that as to why they wouldn't cover the story. They claimed it was Russian disinformation, right? They said it was propaganda. They claimed it was a lie. Worse than a lie, they claimed that Donald Trump and his team and the New York Post were peddling in Russian disinformation. In other words, they're working with the enemy to alter the election. Now, they haven't done that with this one. Instead of lying about it, instead of claiming that it was Russian disinformation, they've just decided to all hold hands and leap off the cliff together and just ignore something that is obviously vital news and information on literally the number 1 or number 2 most important topic and issue for every voter in America right now. It changes between border security and immigration and the economy. And I would argue that if you're worried about border security and you're worried about our immigration policies right now and what's happened in the last 3.5 years, that directly affects the economy. So it really is the number 1 issue. And every single major media outlet in this country ignored the story, and Greg Gutfeld said it right. They would rather you and your family be harmed than actually know the truth about what Joe Biden and Kamala Harris have done here. They don't want you to be right. They don't want Donald Trump to be right. They don't want your vote for Donald Trump in 2016 and possibly in 2020 to be validated. They want you to still feel guilty that you voted for Donald Trump. And the last thing they want is for you to say, look, when we don't protect our border, we let criminals into this country, and every crime they commit is a crime that could have been prevented by just securing our border and following our own immigration laws in this country. They don't want you to actually rest easy knowing that your vote was completely 100% justified. And so they ignore it. They ignore the news. They are in the business of ignoring the news. Finish it up, Greg.
Off by 50%. Please, I think that the fact checkers should fact check it. You know, tell us, no, it's not 16,000 rapists. It's only 8,000. It's only 7,000 murders. Cool. I'm glad you're okay with that. I'll take your fact check. But anybody who defends this or says it's not that big a deal is complicit, and they should be held accountable. Every victim of every crime by the people that are in here that we haven't vilified, who are actual villains, you need to file a class action suit against this government. You know, these bastards were more offended by stories of cats being eaten than real stories reported here of actual rape and murder. And if you ask why those other stories existed, it was the only way to get these a-holes in the media to even look at this story. They can only see immigration as a gotcha moment for political gain. There are actual people that are dying. This is a huge story.
Yeah, it's a huge story. And unless you watch there or here or a few other places, you're not getting any of it. You know, tonight is a debate between the candidates for vice president, J.D. Vance and Tim Walz. If you're watching this after the debate, you'll already have the answer to the question. But I'm curious, and maybe you can put something in the comments if you're watching in real time. What do you think the moderators from CBS News will bring up in the debate first? Do you think they'll bring up the issue of the current immigration border security catastrophe that we're witnessing right now, and this ICE report showing that over 400,000 convicted criminals, known convicted criminals, were let free in the United States under Kamala Harris's watch? Or do you think they'll raise a question about the cats and dogs in Springfield, Ohio? What do you think will come up first? Or, for that matter, which one do you think will be ignored completely? Go ahead and tell us in the comments section.